A group of heroes heads into the dark forest on a mission to liberate their homeland. Each wields a powerful weapon known as a regalia, legendary armaments that grant power far beyond human limits. So naturally, they're feeling pretty confident about taking down the dark beasts lurking in the forest. That confidence lasts exactly 5 seconds, because the moment they arrive, their poor driver gets yeeted into oblivion by a giant beast. With no time to waste mourning the guy, R.I.P., brave NPC, the team springs into action. Their fearless leader, Stefan, commands everyone to form up and charges straight into the den of monsters. The cutlass-wielding hero slices through beasts like he's auditioning for a Blender commercial with his whirlwind technique, while Stefan decapitates a massive snake with a single swing. Unfortunately, even headless, the snake is still in the mood for murder. But just as it lunges at Stefan, Alicia Glenfall pierces its eye with her sword, finally putting the thing down for good. So far, so good. With the lesser monsters cleared, the group delves deeper into the cave, hunting the fearsome beast Lord of the South. At the heart of the cavern, they come face to face with none other than Clevitus of the Moonlight. And you know it's serious when the monster has a slow motion or a glowing boss music entrance. Everyone feels the pressure from Clevitus' sheer presence, but Stefan, bless his optimism, believes they can win with the power of friendship. Yeah, no, friendship isn't going to cut it here. Clevitus promptly redecorates the cave wall using Stefan's blood. The team's tank, thinking he can do better, leaps in for an attack and gets instantly beheaded mid-air. The rest finally start to grasp the harsh truth. They're way out of their league. But it's too late to retreat. Clevitus begins picking them off one by one with his tail. The heroes are baffled. How is he attacking them so fast? Alicia, ever the sharp one, notices that the tail attacks are coming from their shadows. She yells at everyone to jump, literally, to break away from their shadowy doom. Her quick thinking allows her to survive a deadly strike, but the others aren't so lucky. One of the last surviving heroes slams his spear into the ground to summon an earth golem. But guess what? The land itself is under Clevitus' control. Instead of a golem, he gets a personal welcome of tail spikes erupting from the earth, slicing him to bits. The lance user makes a final desperate charge, but while he's fighting for his life, Clevitus casually wonders how such pitiful creatures even made it this far into his lair. He then finishes off the rest of the team, leaving only Alicia airborne and dodging like her life depends on it, because, well, it does. She manages to fly in close enough to land a solid blow on Clevitus' face, but even her most powerful strike barely leaves a scratch. Meanwhile, Clevitus is having a philosophical moment, wondering why the humans are bothering him at all. He hasn't messed with them in over 1,000 years. But if they're going to keep starting problems, he might just need to solve this permanently. First order of business, dealing with Alicia. He slashes her limbs off and sends her falling to her doom like a ragdoll tossed off a cliff. A short time later, Clevitus crash lands in the human kingdom, now with vengeance on his mind. He was perfectly content to leave humans alone, but apparently, King Haydn decided to poke the bear, or in this case, the moonlight-scaled murder lizard. The kingdom's archers scramble to respond and rain arrows on Clevitus, which have about as much effect as tossing paperclips at a tank. Still, they keep shooting, as if hoping peer pressure will make physics work. Clevitus, initially planning to ignore the humans, changes his mind. If they want to start a fight, so be it. He carves a bloody path through the soldiers, on his way to the castle. The guards, now panicking, ready the catapults. Spoiler alert, still useless. Because you can't stop Clevitus with rocks. Clevitus rips through the castle walls like they're made of wet paper. Inside, one of the guards rushes to warn King Haydn, but the king has ears and, you know, walls collapsing tend to be loud. He already knows what's happening. The heroes he sent clearly failed. The weapons of Haydn weren't strong enough, and now Clevitus is most likely coming straight for him. Still, King Haydn doesn't bother running. He knows it's pointless. Even if he flees, Clevitus would just track him down like a vengeful bloodhound. But before he dies, the king wants to seal off the sacred forge of Haydn, so the flames that power their legendary weapons never go out. Meanwhile, outside the castle, Clevitus wonders why the humans here are such pushovers compared to the ones who attacked his den. At first, he thought maybe they were specially trained elites. But when the castle guards launch their fancy metal ballistas at him, and they barely tickle, he realizes the real strength of the first group was in their weapons. He remembers how Alicia's sword actually managed to scratch his horn, something that shouldn't even be possible. He admits, Even if humans are just bugs, a bug with a stinger can still be annoying. So now he's determined to get to the bottom of this. Deep within the castle, King Haydn arrives at the Forge of Haydn, only to feel the ground shake violently. Clevitis must be close. Panicked but resolute, the king seals the forge. Moments later, the roof is ripped clean off the building. And there he is, Clevitis, in all his scaly, moonlit glory. He spots the king and immediately calls him out. Trying to keep his dignity intact, Haydn declares that a mere beast has no right to speak to a king like that. But Clevitis shuts that down fast, telling the king to mind his tone or he'll make all of humanity disappear. Not just Haydn, but every neighboring kingdom too. He could have killed the king already, but he's offering him one chance to explain why he sent those heroes to attack. And how does the king respond? By basically spitting in Clevitis' face. A beast like you could never understand human ambition, he sneers. Welp, wrong answer. Clevitis hears all he needs. He slices off King Haydn's head on the spot and begins forming a plan to wipe out every last human. But as he walks out of the wrecked kingdom, something stops him. He hears a baby crying beside the lifeless body of its mother, crushed under rubble. Does Clevitis feel sympathy? Absolutely not. He keeps walking. But then the mother, somehow still alive, calls out to him, begging him to save her child. Clevitis is momentarily stunned by the audacity. He reminds her he's the one who destroyed this place. He's planning to exterminate humans. Why would he save one? The mother doesn't argue. She admits the adults may have deserved this fate, but pleads that her baby did not. He's innocent. Clevitis still doesn't buy it. All humans are the same in his eyes. But, just for fun, he challenges her. Prove this child is worth saving. She knows she can't. She's dying. But she promises that if he does save the child, he'll one day discover that the baby's worth will reveal itself. She dies shortly after. And Clevitis? He walks away, only to come back. The mother's words must have gotten under his scaly skin. He picks up the baby. He's still not sure this is a good idea, but compared to his own long life, a human baby is practically a blink. For now, he'll keep it, out of curiosity. In the land of Ethia, 5 humanoid races exist. The Dun, numerous and masters of architecture. The Orgites, top-tier hunters and medicine experts. The Slatans, aquatic folks who dominate in swimming and fishing. The Benti, strong barbarians who can't cooperate to save their lives. The people of Haydn, or rather formerly Haydn, who were famous for forging powerful weapons, like the legendary blades of Haydn. Beyond Ethia lies nothing but darkness, a mysterious frontier where the dark beasts dwell, and with them, the 4 dark beast lords. Clevitis is one of them. No human has ever dared cross beyond the borders. Back at his cave, Clevitis brings the baby home. To make sure nothing eats it, he growls at all the surrounding monsters like a strict babysitter with anger issues. Then, curling up beside the child, he starts to rest. But now, he has a problem. The baby reeks. Like, really reeks, covered in poop. And Clevitis, mighty lord of the moonlight, did not sign up for diaper duty. So, what's his genius solution? He tosses the baby into a pit of spiders. Yeah, seriously. The baby immediately starts screaming, which, to be fair, is a reasonable reaction. But Clevitis calmly assures him that the spiders only eat poop. It's actually a spa day, kind of. Still horrifying. He pulls the baby back up, but the crying won't stop. And Clevitis is already running low on patience. But a dark beast lord doesn't go back on his decisions. He's in this now, for real. But he knows the baby won't survive on his own. He needs a human caretaker. So, Clevitis strolls back to the pile of corpses he made earlier to see if anyone's still salvageable. And guess what? Alicia wakes up. She finds herself lying on the ground, staring at the sky. For a moment, she wonders if she's dead, until she sees Clevitis and realizes she's in his cave. Her instincts kick in and she reaches for her weapon, but Clevitis casually informs her that all the weapons and her dead friends were tossed into the ravine, because that's just how he rolls. However, Clevitis thought Alicia might be useful, so he decided to bring her back to life. Technically, she's now a glorified zombie, walking around only because of the dark energy he infused her with. But, hey, details. Anyway, enough exposition. Clevitis immediately orders Alicia to do something useful. Give him some milk. She freezes for a moment, trying to process what she just heard. But unfortunately, he's not joking. And no, it's not a request either. He needs that milk. So, he uses his powers to force her to comply. After several awkward minutes of very unproductive suckling, Clevitis finally accepts the painful truth. This isn't working. Alicia, incredibly annoyed and also very confused, points out the obvious. She's never had a baby, so of course she can't produce milk. She also questions why someone like Clevitis, a literal dark beast lord, would even want to keep a human baby alive. Clevitis doesn't feel like explaining himself, nor does he owe her one. But, since Alicia is a failed milk machine, he demands that she at least be useful in other ways. The baby won't die thanks to Clevitis' energy, but it will stay perpetually hungry unless it's properly fed. So he asks Alicia if there's any other way to get milk. Bound by his power, Alicia can't lie or refuse. So she tells him the most obvious option: hire a nursing mother. But that would mean going to a human town, and with his current form, Clevitis would spark a panic or a riot or both. So, time for a makeover. With nothing else to work with, he shapeshifts into the form of the baby's deceased mother and introduces himself as Kren. As for the baby, her name will be Luna. Kren orders Alicia to lead the way to the nearest village. But before that, she needs to wash Luna's blanket. While scrubbing it clean, she notices something troubling. It bears the Haydn royal crest. Meanwhile, back in what's left of Haydn, word has spread about the kingdom's sudden destruction. A scout is sent to inspect the aftermath. Upon arrival, he's stunned. This level of destruction was caused by a single dark beast? This is why he was against attacking a beast lord in the first place. To make things worse, the assault happened on the very same day the crown princess was supposed to flee the kingdom with her son. Back by the river, Alicia confronts Kren and asks if he knew that Luna was from the royal family. Kren is clueless, so she points out the blanket's crest. Only royalty is allowed to use it. Thinking back, Kren realizes he found the baby buried under rubble near the castle. It would make sense that the child is royalty, but this doesn't change his plans. Alicia then asks what he means by rubble of the castle, and Kren, in classic deadpan fashion, bluntly replies, "I destroyed Haydn and killed the king last night." Alicia is stunned. Haydn really is gone? Kren shrugs it off. After all, they attacked him first. But Alicia points out that it is a big deal. If Luna really is the last royal, then people from all over the continent are going to be hunting him down. Kren doesn't get it. Why would that matter? So Alicia explains, only members of the Haydn royal family know the sacred forging techniques needed to craft their legendary weapons. Immediately after saying that, she realizes she's said too much. Kren, who hadn't really thought long-term yet, suddenly gets an idea. If Luna is that important, maybe he should just make the kid the new king of humanity. That way, Kren could rule everything from the shadows and crush humanity the moment they step out of line. But first, milk. He tells Alicia to stop standing around and get moving. Alicia still doesn't understand why Kren is so attached to Luna, but one thing is clear. If anything happens to this baby, Kren will probably obliterate every last human on the continent. So, whether she likes it or not, Alicia must protect this child at any cost. Now we see that Alicia and Kren both are captured, and suddenly Alicia awake, and she's seen Kren in front of her, and she was very calm and tell Alicia that Luna is safe, and she doesn't have to worry about her. Now Alicia go closer to Kren and asked how only one hit was enough to down you. Don't tell me that you are now weaker like human, because you just transformed into one. Then, Kren says of course not, even I was shocked, and this body is weaker than I thought. Right now I am just a human and I will have to hide my identity until Luna becomes the king. Then Alicia says we have been attacked by filthy bandits, and we are being taken to slavery, and these bandits are stronger than normal humans. They can as dirty as for themselves and cross any cruelty. In the next scene we see that they reach the place and bandits ask men and old people to go one side and women and child to another, but suddenly of the men try to escape, and then one of the bandits kill him with the knife. One of the bandits steps forward and declares, "We're ravens, and if anyone else tries to run, they'll die just like him." Fear spreads among the captives like wildfire. Then, one of the thugs roughly grabs Alicia and drags her away. The scene cuts to a peaceful village, where a woman named Carmi spots Clean carrying a baby girl. Surprised, she invites him into her home and offers him a place to stay. She then calls for her maid, Neil, saying she's good with little ones around here. That evening, we shift to the boss's room, Roku's chamber. A guard enters, dragging Alicia in, and foolishly calls him by name. Instantly, Roku's expression darkens. He slams his fist on the table and growls, "Don't you ever call me that. You address me as boss. Got it?" President Roku, now Zazak. "The old boss vanished and I took his place. Keep calling me by name and you won't just lose your job, you'll meet Beastie." Q. A terrifying creature, known as Beastie, a monstrous dark beast from the west, steps forward. Alicia stares in disbelief. Why would someone like Roku keep such a terrifying creature as a pet? Then Roku pulls out a small pouch filled with glowing red stones and steps closer. You brought these from Luna Mountain, didn't you? He asks with suspicion. That's the den of Clevitus, one of the 4 great dark beast lords. His tone sharpens. They say the king of Haydn sent 13 heroes there, armed with sacred treasures. None of them returned. One of them was a woman. You expect me to believe it's just a coincidence you brought back stones as pure, something impossible to find in human lands. He leans in, eyes narrowed. Tell me, were you one of those 13 soldiers? Then he drops another bombshell. Did you hear? Clevitus attacked Hydrat and wiped out their entire castle. He draws a glowing red sword, causing Alicia to gasp. That sword, she exclaims. She recognizes it immediately. Only Haydn's royal family can forge such a weapon, the red glow proof of its purity and immense power. These swords are said to amplify a fighter's strength manifold. But Roku smirks. Oh, this thing? It's fake. We don't just sell slaves, we sell counterfeit weapons too. Most people are too dumb to know the difference. He adds, there are only 2 ways to get a sacred treasure. Either be chosen as a hero by the king, or looted off a dead one. And let's be honest, most heroes die anyway. Then Roku stares coldly into Alicia's eyes. So, where's your sacred treasure? And where are the other 12? Alicia clenches her fists and remains silent. His grin fades. Make her talk, he orders his guards. Tomorrow, she's leading us to it. She's the key to finding all 13. The guards drag her away. Later, we see Clean working undercover in the local tavern, serving food and drinks. The customers mock him, laughing at his pale and fragile appearance. Nearby, Carmi whispers to a friend, that boy's strange. I thought he had orc blood because of that horn on his head, but he's way too weak. He's practically see-through. Meanwhile, Neil is carrying drinks when one of the guards deliberately trips her, sending her crashing to the ground. They drag her outside, claiming they'll teach her a lesson and beat her mercilessly before tossing her into the dirt. Suddenly, Clean appears, eyes cold and deadly. In a flash, he kills both guards and disposes of their bodies without anyone noticing. Neil, trembling with fear and confusion, stares at him. But Clean gently says, take care of the baby. I'd like to talk to you. Later, they sit under the moonlight. Neil timidly opens up. I've been here with the Ravens since I was born. I never knew my father. My mother was here too, but I only ever saw her from behind. I don't even remember her face. Her voice cracks. She was a slave too. Neil spoke quietly. They used to beat my mother constantly, and then one day, she just disappeared. I don't know if she escaped or died. After that, they started beating me instead. She lifted her hair, revealing scars on her ears and a mouth missing teeth. I lost most of my teeth. I can only hear from one ear now, she added, her voice steady but numb from years of pain. It wasn't until later that I realized my mother had been protecting me all along. Her words hit hard. They've always treated us like animals, she continued. Things only got a little better after Carmi arrived. She taught me how to deal with the men around here. Life isn't as awful as it used to be. At least now I have a job taking care of the children. Clean looked at her carefully and asked, if you know how to care for children, where's your own? Neil's expression darkened. I gave birth to a stillborn, she whispered, her voice finally cracking. When I realized my baby was gone, it was like my whole world went dark. I felt like I was sinking, falling deeper and deeper, wishing I could just die too. She wiped away a tear, forcing a small broken smile. But then, when I started caring for the children here, I thought, maybe I was meant to protect little ones like them. Sometimes I even imagine they're mine. Clean remained silent, his gaze softening. Then he asked gently, would you come with me? I need someone I can trust to take care of Luna, and she seems to like you too. A reflective thought lingers. If you were Clean, could you stay calm in a moment like this? And if you were Neil, would you have survived such a life? Sometimes the weakest people carry the strongest hearts. Neil stared at him, surprised. She hadn't expected that kind of offer. But Clean looked serious, calm, and firm. Take your time. Think carefully, he said, locking eyes with her. But I want your answer. Will you come with me? Be Luna's nursemaid and leave this place? Or stay here, serving slave owners who everyone says are nothing more than scum? Neil lowered her eyes. Her lips quivered as she sighed. Honestly, I'm really grateful for your offer, she said softly. But in the end, you're a slave too. You won't be able to pay me much. She gave him a sad smile. So, I'll stay. I need to care for the children who come next. I'm sorry. She gently handed the baby back to him and walked away without looking back. At this point, you can't help but ask yourself, what would you do in her shoes? Stay in familiar suffering or risk everything for a shot at freedom? Meanwhile, we see Alicia, the heroine, being forced to cross a narrow bridge, surrounded by thugs and bandits. She halts, lost in thought. One of the bandits taps her with his sword and sneers, "Keep moving, or are you thinking about jumping?" He chuckles darkly, "Don't bother. The walls here slope inward. You'll smash into the rocks long before you reach the lake below." Suddenly, the group's attention shifts to a nearby man, clearly out of his mind, who loudly challenges the lake itself. He claims he'll dive beneath the water and reach a hidden magic mine just 2 meters below the surface. It's an absurdly dangerous stunt. Everyone starts mocking him. "What an idiot," they shout. "He's really gonna try it." Off to the side, his wife watches nervously, calling out, "Do your best, darling." Hopeful, but pale. Without hesitation, the man dives in. Alicia gasps. He's insane. The whole entrance is submerged and crawling with monsters. He's not coming back. Sure enough, within moments, a monstrous beast rises from the depths and devours the man instantly. Then it lunges upward, dragging another poor soul with it. Yes, folks, the narrator might say ominously, these are the dreaded dark beasts, Arventus, still lurking in these waters. They've haunted this area ever since the Great Floods 300 years ago. That mine, abandoned. Even Kadauer, the greatest hero of his time, failed to defeat these monsters. At least back then, there was ground to stand on. Kadauer's legendary weapon, the Stream Cutter, earned its name after slicing through a waterfall in front of King Haydn himself. One of the bandits, stunned, turns to Alicia. "I didn't know swords had names. Does yours have one too?" She glares at him and snaps. "There's no reason I need to tell you anything." But the bandit sneers. "You fool. You promised them freedom, didn't you? Yet here you are, tying ropes around your slave and dragging him like a dog. Doesn't that mean you never meant to set him free?" His voice is full of venom. "I know what scum like you think. You're just like those Zionists, making promises you'll never keep." Alicia glares at him but stays silent. Another bandit snickers. "Stay out of other people's messes, girl. You've got your own to worry about," he taunts. "You're shackled at the wrists, iron balls chained to your ankles, standing on a bridge to nowhere. And on the other side, even more people waiting to hurt you." The whole crowd erupts in laughter, eager to watch the heroine break. Oh yeah, one grins. "Can't wait to hear Miss Heroine squeal like a pig." Suddenly, a deranged-looking thug leaps in front of Alicia, shaking the bridge violently. The others scream, "Hey, idiot, you'll break the bridge!" But the maniac only laughs. "I don't care," he shouts. "All I see is a woman I want to strip and defile in front of everyone." His words ignite a storm of fury in Alicia. Her eyes blaze. She violently struggles against her restraints, and then, with a sudden burst of strength, she breaks partially free. With one fierce blow, she smashes the pervert so hard, the ropes holding the bridge snap. Both Alicia and the thug plummet into the abyss below, bodies vanishing into the darkness. And just like that, silence. 2 corpses falling into the unknown. The bandits look down and, upon seeing Alicia's body, they start panicking. She was supposed to lead them to the 13 regalia that were lost. Meanwhile, at the bottom of the cave, Alicia regains consciousness thanks to the curse of immortality that Clevitus placed on her. Sure, she can't die, but the curse doesn't grant regeneration either. Right now, she's paralyzed from the neck down, every bone shattered and her blood rapidly draining. She has no clue how to escape. Worse, if the bandits realize she's alive, things could get ugly. As she struggles to move, the blood pooling from her wounds begins floating. Then Clevitus materializes from it in a tiny form. Alicia is shocked to see him so small, but he explains he's manifesting using the blood magic in her body. That same blood magic is what's keeping her alive. If she bleeds out entirely, permanent death. However, Clevitus promises that as long as she's useful, he'll replace her blood and heal her. But he hasn't started yet, which Alicia notices, so she impatiently asks why. He says he'll heal her, sure, but first, he wants her opinion on something. Apparently, he recently offered New, the wet nurse candidate for Luna, a chance to escape this wretched place and live a better life. But surprisingly, New rejected him flat out. Clevitus wonders if Alicia knows why. She figures it's because New sees Clevitus as a powerless slave, incapable of keeping promises. Bandit groups like this don't just let people leave, and escapees are always hunted down. Being born and raised in this camp, New probably thinks freedom is a hopeless dream. Clevitus asks if there's a solution. Alicia bluntly suggests, just kill all the bandits. If no one's left to chase her, Nu might actually believe she can be free. She adds that with his power, Clevitis could easily wipe out the camp. But Clevitis refuses. If word got out that he left the mountain, enemies might take advantage and invade his territory. Instead, he wants Alicia to handle it. After all, it's normal for a hero to slay bandits. Alicia tries to protest, but Clevitis shuts her up and forcefully pumps her full of blood, regenerating her body. When the bandits finally reach her, they're horrified watching her bones snap back and tissues reattach. The agony is unbearable, but soon she's back to full health. They can't believe she survived the fall, but figure it doesn't matter. As long as she's alive, they can force her to lead them to the 13 regalia. One cocky bandit charges alone and slashes her shoulder, but after what she just endured, it's nothing. She grabs his arm, punches his face in, then snatches his sword and eye patch. Alicia still hates being forced to fight, but these scumbags need to go down. While Alicia handles the bandits, Clevitis focuses on finding Nu and convincing her that escape is possible. Meanwhile, Nu returns to the tavern, where Carmi, correct name for Carmi, is worried about her bruises. Carmi hates seeing Nu beaten, but can't stop the bandits. Still, she asks Nu to start clearing dishes. Noticing Nu is in an oddly good mood despite the abuse, Carmi asks what's up. Nu admits it's not good news exactly, but it made her happy. She asks Carmi what the outside world is like. Carmi is surprised. Nu never asked that before. She explains she was born here and never saw the world, while Carmi was brought here after her home was destroyed, so her memories of the outside aren't happy ones. When Carmi asks why the sudden curiosity, Nu reveals someone asked her if she wanted to leave. Alarmed, Carmi slaps Nu. You can't say things like that aloud with bandits nearby. They see slaves as disposable. The women here only survive by watching each other's backs. Just then, Blocko, correct spelling, walks in, having heard everything. Carmi grows nervous, asking why he's here since he rarely visits. Blocko says he heard a baby was brought in and wanted to check. He asks Nu where the baby is, and she says Luna is in the stables. As he turns to leave, he tells Nu to come with him. From his tone, Carmi can tell this isn't good, but she has no power to stop it. Meanwhile, Nu remains clueless about the terrible fate that might await her. Once Brokov takes Nu away, Carmi slams her hands on the table in frustration. Nu was the only one capable of taking care of the babies here, and now she's gone. But Brokov couldn't care less. Carmi tries to convince herself that there was nothing she could have done, and that Nu brought this on herself by talking about escape in front of Brokov. Yet, the guilt of what's about to happen to Nu weighs heavily on her. At that moment, Clevitis appears, carrying Luna. Carmi is startled. She didn't even hear him come in, but quickly realizes he's probably here because he wants to feed Luna. Regretfully, she informs him that Nu is gone and likely won't return. Carmi dislikes it, but that's just how things work here. However, Clevitis doesn't accept that. His piercing gaze tells Carmi he's dead serious about ensuring Nu's safety, and he demands an explanation. Meanwhile, Brokov leads Nu down an old stairwell. Nu is amazed. Despite living her entire life in the camp, she's never seen this place before. Brokov explains that it was once part of a massive magic ore mine. Magic ores have countless uses. For example, the lamp Brokov carries works because of crushed magic ores mixed with insect oil. Before becoming a bandit, Brokov spent a lot of time researching the applications of magic ores, particularly how to mix them with various liquids to produce unique effects. He casually tells Nu to ignore the skulls on the floor. They're nothing to worry about. Then, Brokov turns off the lamp, plunging them into darkness. Nu panics, pleading for the light to be turned back on. When Brokov complies, she's horrified to see his pet monster Betty standing right behind her. As part of his experiments, Brokov developed mixtures that allow him to control demons like Betty, which helped him become the leader of the bandits. As the leader, Brokov says he can't let someone live after expressing a desire to escape, so Nu will be executed by Betty. Panicking, Nu tries to flee, but Brokov commands Betty to eat her. As she runs, Nu thinks back to Clevitis' offer and deeply regrets not accepting it. Suddenly, she sees Clevitis holding Luna at the tunnel's other end. Her last thought is sorrow for not being able to care for Luna anymore. Normally, this is where the hero would save her, but not this time. Nu is devoured by Betty, swallowed whole. Luna starts crying at the horrific sight, but Clevitis remarks coldly that this is just how the world works. Magic beasts need to eat, and it's his own fault for arriving too late. He's disappointed to lose such a useful woman, but resigns himself to the loss. Turning to Brakov, Clevitis finds it strange that a proud troll from the western forest, like Betty, would obey someone like Brakov. Brakov scoffs, thinking Clevitis is crazy for insulting him here, and orders Betty to eat Clevitis next. But, to his shock, Betty refuses to move. She looks terrified, paralyzed with fear. She even vomits up new, though she's covered in stomach acid and missing an arm and leg. Yet, she's still alive. Clevitis neutralizes the acid with his powers and gently sets Luna down next to Nu, comforting her in her final moments. Then, using his shadow, Clevitis discreetly carries both Luna and Nu away. By the time Brakov looks back, they're gone. He assumes Clevitis used magic to escape, though Clevitis himself is clueless about magic. Brakov accuses him of feigning ignorance, believing magic is the only explanation for his feats. He explains that magic combines magic stones, herbs, and special ingredients to produce effects. For instance, he shows a drug in his coat, crafted from magic stones, herbs, and parasitic fly larvae. It makes anyone but him dumb as a rock. Using it on Betty, she became fully obedient. Brakov pours the drug into his fire, creating vapors. As soon as Betty inhales them, she loses all reason and charges at Clevitis in a blind rage. Clevitis is tossed around helplessly. In his human form, his power is limited. While flying through the air, all he can think about is how mad he is that Alicia never mentioned magic to him. Meanwhile, Alicia continues cutting down bandits. She's already killed 8, but many remain, and her stolen sword is broken. She knows she'll need a better weapon to win. She runs toward the flooded cave. About 50 bandits are left. Though immortal, she can still tire, so if exhaustion hits before the bandits are dead, she's done for. Reaching the water, she sees the lake monsters already waiting. Jumping in would be suicide, so she climbs the scaffolding instead, tricking the bandits into following her up. Once enough of them climb, she cuts the support rope, collapsing the structure and sending most of them into the water. The monsters enter a frenzy, devouring the bandits. During the chaos, Alicia hides inside a barrel and sinks to the lake bottom. Since she doesn't need to breathe, she waits patiently, hoping to reach the legendary sword hidden below. While the monsters were devouring the bandits, Alicia was having a rough time descending to the bottom of the lake. The water pressure increased the deeper she went, and being unable to breathe wasn't exactly helping her mood. Still, she pressed on because, hey, she knew she couldn't die anyway. Her real enemy was her own weak body. After a tough struggle, she finally reached the bottom and spotted something glowing. It was the sword. She swam toward it, but just as she reached it, the biggest, meanest monster of them all appeared out of nowhere. Alicia was stunned. How could something that huge stay hidden down here for so long? But there wasn't time for awe. The monster grabbed her and yanked her toward its gaping mouth, while she desperately tried to reach for the sword. Just in time, she managed to grab it, while practically lodged between the monster's teeth. She remembered what her father once told her, that her hands might be weaker than a man's, but she was far better at drawing out a sword's true power. Channeling that strength, she slashed her way free and unleashed the sword's energy. Guided by the legendary sword techniques passed down in stories, Alicia started moving freely underwater like she was born there. She realized then that the sword grew stronger in the right environment, and it finally clicked. This was the same creature that likely defeated the hero known as the Current Cutter. No one could have imagined a beast like this existed. It had to be one of those ancient monsters from legends, immortal creatures that rarely appear and live for thousands of years. While trying to escape, Alicia caught the attention of other monsters. But all she cared about now was oxygen. Slashing through anything in her way, she reached the surface, gasping for breath. The remaining bandits were stunned. There she was, emerging from the water, wielding the sacred sword. But before they could cheer, the enormous monster burst from the lake and went full rampage mode, killing everything in sight. Alicia tried escaping, but couldn't do much. She attempted to attack the monster's limbs, but it was useless. To kill it, she'd need to chop its legs off, and she couldn't even reach those. It became obvious, no single hero could take on an ancient beast like this. So, she made the logical choice. She retreated. The bandits begged for her help, but she coldly left them to their doom. The monsters made quick work of them. From a safe distance, Alicia watched it all go down. The monsters weren't leaving the lake, and that meant her mission was technically complete. Clevitis had only asked her to eliminate the bandits. Plus, she now had the sword. So win? Just then, Clevitis started speaking to Alicia through the essence of darkness. He knew she'd completed the mission. Even though he hadn't seen it, he could somehow feel it. Clearly, it had been rough. Alicia, not in the mood for compliments, snapped back that rough didn't even begin to describe it, it was destructive. She demanded to know why he didn't help if he knew how bad it would be. Clevitis replied that he had a problem. Alicia was baffled, a lord of darkness with problems. He explained that part of it was his limited human form. The other part? He'd been dealing with this whole thing called magic, something completely new to him, and it was seriously messing with his senses. Why didn't you tell me about magic, Alicia? He said ominously. Come to me now, so I can punish you. Meanwhile, Brakov, yes, he survived somehow, was limping away, wondering how all of this happened and who the heck that terrifying kid was. Haunted by the memory of facing Clevitis, he eventually collapsed from the stress, unable to even comprehend the power he'd witnessed. Still, he kept crawling until he saw Luna and knew up ahead. By now, Alicia had reached Clevitis. He greeted her with his usual sass. You're late. She snapped back that she came as fast as she could, like she even had a choice. But then she noticed the smoke, and she was stunned. So, Clevitis asked Alicia about the sword. She told him flat out that she wasn't handing it over. After all, she basically paid with her life to get it. Surprisingly, Clevitis didn't care about the sword. Instead, he asked about the strange magic in the area. It wasn't affecting animals, just him, and it was incredibly effective against dark monsters. He couldn't even smell properly, and both his ears were ringing like crazy. He mentioned he could avoid all of this by transforming into his true form, but doing so would likely destroy the cave and possibly kill Luna, who had only just gone missing. That risk wasn't worth it. Hearing this, Alicia was shocked, realizing that anything happening to Luna could trigger a massive disaster. Clevitis then told her she needed to do something about the magic. Alicia explained that she didn't know how to use magic because, well, hardly anyone did. Magic was rare, and only a few chosen ones could wield it. To even begin using magic, one needed a monohydrite metal, something ordinary people had a 0% chance of obtaining. Upon hearing that, Clevitis casually called her useless. Naturally, that didn't sit well with Alicia. She pointed out that some of the heroes she'd killed could use magic, but Clevitis ignored her and simply kept walking. Alicia insisted they needed to find Luna, even though the chances were high she was already dead. She asked what would happen if Luna really was dead. Clevitis answered coldly, if Luna dies, my interest in humanity dies with her. That's when Alicia realized Clevitis had already considered destroying the entire world. The only thing stopping him was Luna. So now Alicia had one mission: find Luna alive. She was everyone's last hope. As they moved forward, Alicia noticed bloodstains and asked if Neil was injured. Clevitis said Neil wasn't even in a condition to crawl, meaning someone must have dragged her away. Elsewhere, we see Frocko moving ahead, but Neil, stubborn as ever, kept tripping him up, so Frocko started kicking her. Even then, Neil wouldn't let go of his coat. He was furious. That coat was a rare, one-of-a-kind item, made from black feathers. Still, his mission to get Luna out of there came first. Frocko remembered that when he tried to touch Luna, she suddenly burst into tears, causing the lantern in his hand to explode. That's when it hit him. This child had magical power. Not just that, he had pure royal blood. He had to be the lost prince of the Hidden Kingdom. Suddenly, Alicia appeared. Frocko was stunned to see her. He asked where his men were. From behind, Clevitis calmly told him they are all currently being digested inside the dark monster's stomach. Clevitis looked at Neil and said, looks like you fought right to your last breath. At that, Frocko made a threat. If anyone moved even a step, he'd start cutting off Luna's fingers. Clevitis, not even slightly fazed, said, do what you want. Alicia, however, stepped in, saying, let me handle this. This guy will actually cut her fingers off. Even if we can heal them, the pain and trauma won't just vanish. Then she made Frocko an offer. She revealed the legendary sword. Frocko was stunned. Without warning, Alicia threw the sword into the wall and said, you can't pull that out with one hand. So let's make a deal. Leave the kid, take the sword, and walk away. But if you try anything funny, I'll kill you myself. Frocko laughed, saying, if you're giving up the legendary sword that easily, then this kid must be worth even more than the sword. His suspicion confirmed, Alicia was furious. Then Frocko started asking where the rest of the legendary swords were. After all, 1 for 1 wasn't a fair deal. On Clevitis's orders, Alicia revealed the location. The rest of the weapons were at the bottom of Grand Valley. Immediately after learning that, Frocko pulled out an invisibility potion and used it on himself. Alicia was caught off guard. Frocko then struck Luna on the head, making her cry harder to fuel his magic, and both vanished. Still talking, despite being invisible, Frocko gloated about getting revenge. But suddenly, Alicia dropped down and sliced him in half. "How did you know where I was?" he gasped. "You idiot," she said. "Stop talking so much. We could hear you moving." At the same time, Luna's cries rang out again. She reappeared next to Clevitis, who wiped off the magic powder from her to dispel the invisibility. Then Alicia brought up Neil, who was barely alive. She asked Clevitis if he was going to save her. After all, even in that awful condition, Neil had done so much for Luna. Without her, Luna would never have been saved. Getting emotional, Alicia pleaded. Clevitis agreed but told her he would need to use the dark fluid from Alicia's body to heal Neil, and that meant Alicia would have to die. Again, Alicia accepted without hesitation. It wasn't her first time. While Clevitis drained her blood from the inside, Alicia died once more. But now, Neil's body was fully healed, and even her appearance had changed. Clevitis told her that Alicia had made the sacrifice to save her, and that she herself had been saved from the monster. "Don't worry," he said. "Alicia will definitely come back." For the first time, Clevitis actually praised Alicia, admitting she was stronger than other humans. Sure enough, Alicia came back to life again. First thing she did, she looked for her sword, her most prized possession now. Then, Clevitis handed Luna to Neil, now fully recovered, and said it was feeding time. Oh, and also he renamed Neil to Neller, which left her completely stunned. "You're a new person now," Clevitis told her, "so you need a new name. Will you join us?" She responded happily. The next morning, Clevitis confiscates Alicia's sword, leaving her devastated. But he assures her that having it out would draw too much attention, so he's just storing it in his shadow until it's actually needed. Meanwhile, Neller has finished packing a bunch of the bandits' gear for the next leg of their journey, and she even found some nice clothes for Luna to wear. Alicia asks if she's seriously carrying all that luggage on her own, because it looks ridiculously heavy. But Neller says it actually feels pretty light. That's when Alicia remembers. Neller lost a huge portion of her body when she nearly died yesterday. So clearly, Clevitis must have replaced her missing parts with something that somehow made her stronger. What exactly he did, though, is still a mystery to her. Neller approaches Alicia and kindly offers to carry her sword for her. But Alicia admits she doesn't actually have her sword anymore. So Neller tells her that she remembers hearing something about Frocco keeping a bunch of cool swords in his desk. Alicia lights up with excitement and immediately begs Clevitis to at least let her have one regular sword. Knowing that Alicia is basically useless in battle without a blade, Clevitis gives her the green light. She dashes off to raid Frocco's desk. With Frocco and the rest of the bandits dead, and all the slaves having already escaped, the place is basically a ghost town now. Clevitis asks Neller if she's going to miss this place. But she says no, she's had nothing but awful memories here. If anything, she only wishes she could have said goodbye to Carm before leaving. Hearing her say that, Clevitis realizes he might have made a mistake earlier. But before he can say anything about it, he's suddenly ambushed from above. At the same time, Alicia kicks down the door to Frocco's office and begins rummaging through the desk. She finds some money, a set of leather armor, and a decent sword. Satisfied, she turns to head back, only to have Clevitis come crashing through the wall, slamming into the desk. "I still haven't gotten used to how easily this human body gets ragdolled," he groans. Before he can explain, a new threat enters, Gart, stepping through the massive hole in the wall. One look, and Alicia can tell, this guy is strong. She draws her sword, ready to fight. In the blink of an eye, Gart launches a kick so powerful that the air pressure alone cuts Alicia across the face. He's impressed she dodged at all, but he doubts she can hold out for long. He starts hitting her with a barrage of kicks until she finally loses her footing. Then Gart jumps back and unleashes a tornado of wind, launching Alicia through the roof. She crash lands outside, battered but still standing, much to Gart's surprise. Impressed, he makes her an offer. He's only interested in Clevitis, so if she puts her sword down and leaves, he won't fight her anymore. But Alicia doesn't buy it. She assumes he must be one of the surviving bandits. Right now, she really wishes she had the Stream Splitter sword. Since she doesn't, she falls back on a technique she learned from King Haydn. She clears her mind of all distractions. The only thing left in her head? Running the fade with Gart. Her sudden burst of speed catches Gart off guard, and just as her sword is about to make contact, Clevitis shouts for her to stop. Her body obeys instinctively, but her mind is still dead set on murder, so Clevitis has to literally knock some sense into her. Once Alicia calms down, Clevitis explains the truth. This was all one big misunderstanding. There's no need for a fight. Besides, if he hadn't stopped her just now, Gart would have straight up obliterated her with his next kick before she could land a hit. Gart is a pretty reasonable guy, so he asks Clevitis to explain exactly what he meant by this as a misunderstanding. Because no matter how you spin it, Neller over there smells suspiciously like a Western troll, and Gart had been told that a troll was being controlled in this camp before he even arrived. He's already explored the caverns beneath the camp and found the troll's corpse, except several parts were missing, like someone had intentionally harvested them. Gart's current theory: that Clevitis is the camp leader who killed the troll for fun. But, of course, that's not even close to the truth. Clevitis calmly tells Neller to take Luna and wait by the front gate, saying he needs to speak with Gart alone. Once they're gone, he quietly informs Alicia that Gart is actually a dark beast in disguise. This stuns her. She had no idea other dark beasts could transform into humans like Clevitis can. But Clevitis clarifies, Gart is under a powerful illusion. As far as he knows, there's only one being who can pull off illusion magic that convincing, none other than the dark beast lord of the West, Zathir. And just for the record, Clevitis doesn't get along with Zathir at all and would prefer to avoid crossing paths. Gart, surprised by how much Clevitis has deduced in such a short time, asks him directly who he really is. Not ready to reveal his true identity, Clevitis lies and claims he's just a servant of the dark beast Lord Clevitis. Yes, a little ironic. Gart buys it and cancels the illusion magic, revealing his true form, a bird monster serving under Zathir. Now that he's out in the open, Gart wants proof that Clevitis is also a dark beast. In response, Clevitis summons one of his shadow tails, which is enough to convince him, so Gart proposes a truce. Meanwhile, Alicia is mentally spiraling. First, she finds out there are other beasts who can shapeshift and speak fluent human like Clevitis. So what was even the point of the heroes fighting Clevitis back then? Clevitis notices her distress and reassures her. She doesn't need to worry, since very few dark beasts can disguise themselves as humans. And aside from Zathir, most wouldn't bother interacting with humans unless there's a really good reason. With that cleared up, Gart wants to know something else. Why is Clevitis willingly traveling with a human woman? Clevitis explains that Alicia is a human he turned into his servant. She's now bound to obey his every command, and he's keeping her around as a guide to help him understand the human world. Same goes for Neller and Luna, though he's not planning to tell Gart anything more than that. Gart accepts the explanation, but makes one thing crystal clear. If Clevitis interferes with his mission, he will kill him. Clevitis, unfazed, replies that he's welcome to try, but it won't be easy. With that tension diffused, for now, Clevitis decides it's his turn to ask a question. Earlier, Gart had mentioned something about Zathir considering wiping out all of humanity. That struck Clevitis as strange, because last he heard, Zathir actually enjoyed watching humans and was even worshipped as a god by the Orgites in the West. So what changed? Gart agrees to explain. 3 days ago, he discovered several dark beast families had lost their children. That alone wouldn't have been alarming, but he also found a vial at the scene, which made him suspect human involvement. He reported the situation to Zathir, along with 9 similar incidents he had found. Zathir agreed that the humans were likely behind the disappearances. Although she was surprised they betray her like this, especially after how well she had treated them, she tasked Gart with investigating. If it turns out that humans are kidnapping the children of dark beasts in the forest, she plans to wipe them all out. Hearing that, Clevitis starts putting pieces together. Last night, while interrogating Carm, she told him that all children born in the camp are sold to a mysterious group of men because of their talent. That was Fracco's plan for Luna too. Clevitis now suspects that the kidnapped dark beast children and the human kids being sold off might be connected. He recalls that Carm mentioned a talent, and he's pretty sure that talent involves magic. When Alicia hears the word magic, her expression sours. Clevitis picks up on it and asks if she knows anything. She says magic still isn't her area of expertise, but kidnapping children for their magical potential. That absolutely sounds like something the wizards would do. Those are the people who've been changing the face of warfare in human kingdoms over the past few years. Right now, the outcome of battles depends almost entirely on the skills of the wizards each side has, as a single wizard is capable of wiping out dozens if not hundreds of soldiers with a single spell. Granted, wizards are also vulnerable to attacks from other wizards, so they're not unstoppable, but they remain a devastating force on the battlefield. The first person to introduce wizards into warfare was General Drell, also known as the Dragon Slayer. He's the same man who killed Alicia's father when she was a child, so she has held a deep grudge against him for years. Clevitis finds that story interesting but questions why Alicia wasted her time coming after him instead of targeting the man who actually killed her father. After all, Clevitis had never harmed humans until they attacked first. Alicia explains that it was her father's dying wish, so she put aside her personal feelings and committed herself to the mission to push forward through Clevitis's territory. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the human kingdom, General Drell is leading an army of 50,000 men southward. His objective is to capture the ruins of Haydn and claim them for himself. The remnants of the Haydn army, however, number only around 6,000 men, and they have very few wizards left. There's no way they could stop him in a head-on confrontation. Miguel asks if reinforcements are on their way, but given the current state of communication and travel, it'll take at least 3 days for help to arrive. For now, they're on their own. The commander has a last-ditch plan to give them a fighting chance. If they can reach the fortress at Highgate and seal it from within, they might be able to hold off Drell's forces despite being vastly outnumbered. However, this strategy depends on cooperation from the soldiers already inside the fortress. Although the commander sent them a letter explaining the situation, he's received no response. He assumes things must be chaotic inside as well. At this point, the commander and Miguel are still unsure whether the rumors of Clevitis destroying Haydn are true. But since Bolate was bold enough to send General Drell to conquer the region, he suspects the worst, that Haydn has indeed fallen. If he had to guess, Drell is after Haydn's forge because without it, no one can produce magical weapons. Miguel agrees it would be disastrous if the Bolates managed to get their hands on the forge and began manufacturing magical arms. But the threat goes beyond simple weapons. The Royal Forge of Haydn is one of the oldest magical artifacts in existence. If the magic-obsessed Bolates were to obtain it, there's no telling what secrets they might uncover. With that kind of power, they could potentially take over the entire continent. That's why the commander insists they must be stopped at all costs. At the same time, General Drell meets with the most powerful wizard under his command, Maynard. Maynard informs him that he has confirmed Haydn was indeed destroyed by Clevitis, and all members of the royal family have been killed, except for the 6-month-old crown prince. He's the only surviving member of royal blood, but his current whereabouts are unknown. Maynard can't say for sure whether the child is alive or dead. However, in other news, he recently received a report from a group of bandits who claim to have found a baby matching the prince's description. Maynard believes it's worth investigating, and General Drell gives him full authority to do whatever it takes to locate the child and bring him in. Clem and the others have just arrived in a nearby town. While they wait for Alicia to gather information, Nell makes Clem a cup of coffee. He's never heard of coffee before, so he asks Nell what it is, but she's not entirely sure either. It's just some expensive drink that Verko used to have her make for him from time to time. So, she grabs some beans on their way out, figuring Clem might like it. Clem decides to give the mystery bean soup a try. After letting it cool, he takes a sip and hey, turns out it actually tastes amazing. Nell is happy he enjoys it, but there's something she's been meaning to ask. What happened to that strange man who attacked Clem back at the camp? He kind of just vanished and it's a little weird. After learning about wizards and magic from Alicia, Gart had told Clem that he'd be leaving to report back to his master, so they won't be seeing him for a while. Still, Clem assures Nell that even if they do run into him again, he's no longer suspicious of them and won't attack. Just then, Alicia comes running up the hill with bad news. According to the village, the situation in Haydn is a complete disaster. The neighboring country of Bolate has broken past the border and invaded. Haydn is trying to fight back, but with the king dead and the capital in ruins, they don't stand a chance. Apparently, the country of Ezen tried to slow down Bolate's advance, but it didn't do much in the end. Clem asks why Ezen would even bother helping Haydn when they aren't directly involved in the conflict. Alicia explains that Ezen has been at war with the Bolates for ages, but they're currently weaker. They don't want the Bolates getting their hands on the Haydn Forge, a powerful artifact that could make them unstoppable. Of course, even if they got the forge, it would be useless without someone of royal blood to activate it. The real problem is that Haydn is hopelessly outmatched, especially since Clem killed their king, and they don't have any sorcerers left. At this rate, Haydn might just disappear from the map. That sounds awful, but Clem doesn't really care. His only goal is to make Luna king. Whether Bolate takes over Haydn or not doesn't matter to him. But Alicia argues otherwise. If Haydn falls under Bolate rule, Luna will never be allowed to be king. Only Bolate-born citizens are eligible, and from Luna's appearance, it's painfully obvious he's a pure-blooded Hittite. Under Bolate rule, that would make Luna an outcast. Worse still, pure-blooded Hittites are extremely rare and highly valued. Their blood is essential for refining arcanocite. And with a man like Drell leading the invasion, there's no telling how far he'd go. Drell was the one who killed Alicia's father. Not in battle, they used to be friends. But because Alicia's dad was once considered one of the greatest swordsmen in the nation, Drell, years after his retirement, decided to challenge him to a duel, just to prove he was better. Real classy. And as if that wasn't enough, after mortally wounding him, Drell looked Alicia in the eye and then blew up their house, just because, enraged. Alicia nearly grabbed her father's sword to strike back, but her dying father stopped her. Drell wouldn't hesitate to kill her, he warned. In his final moments, he begged her not to give in to revenge, because it would only drag her down a dark path of endless war. Instead, he wanted her to become a hero, someone who saves people, and promised he'd always watch over her. Having experienced Drell's cruelty firsthand, Alicia tells Clem that the only way to ensure Luna's future is to stop the Bolates and drive them out of Haydn. Clem knows she's right, but he's still slightly annoyed that he now has to protect a place he once planned to destroy. Alicia is happy he's willing to help. She says she'll get ready to leave right away, but Clem tells her to stay. If he's going to intervene directly, he can't let people know he's doing it just because Alicia asked him to. He needs a better excuse. And luckily, he's got one. Drell has been kidnapping Dark Beast children to turn them into wizards for his army. That, Clem decides, is reason enough to get involved. This also gives Clem an excuse to see just how strong these wizards really are, and honestly, he's a little excited. He assumes Alicia must be itching to take revenge on Drell for what he did to her father. But her father's last wish was clear. He wanted her to become a hero, not someone consumed by vengeance. Alicia remembers that promise, but after everything that's happened, she finds it hard to call herself a hero anymore. She feels like nothing more than a walking corpse, someone forced to carry out orders. Still, Clem challenges her thinking. What does it really mean to be a hero? Even if Alicia doesn't believe she is one, Clem is sure that Nell sees her that way. After all, Nell's life is so much better now, and that's largely because of Alicia's efforts. Realizing he's right, Alicia agrees to stay behind. Clem then transforms and rushes into the forest, heading straight for the Bolate army. Meanwhile, the Bolate army has just broken through the second fortress on their march toward Haydn, and Rod is growing increasingly worried. If they're not stopped soon, they'll reach Hit It. Acting quickly, he races alongside Mikkel along the cliff face, pointing out a shallow river up ahead, possibly their last good chance to slow down the Bolate advance. Back in the city, Alicia takes Nell and Luna with her into town. While walking through the streets, they suddenly hear the sound of someone getting badly beaten. At first, Alicia is concerned, until she realizes it's just one of the bandits who managed to survive her earlier attacks. She quickly loses interest. The townspeople know all about the bandits and the chaos they've caused. So when they recognize this one, they don't hesitate. Nell is a little frightened. That particular bandit used to torment her constantly, but Alicia reassures her. There's no way he'd recognize her now, after how much she's changed. Unfortunately, he does recognize Alicia. And the moment he spots her, he tries to redirect the townspeople's anger by shouting that she's the hero who released the giant sea beast from the mine shaft. Some townsfolk turn in confusion, but by then, Alicia has already slipped away. Even if they had seen her, it wouldn't have saved him. In the end, all the bandits found in the city are hanged. Still, the townspeople are growing deeply concerned. First, there was Clevitus' attack. Then came the Bolate army, followed by an ancient octopus monster. Jokingly, they wonder what's next: radioactive wasps, glacial worms. But one thing's for certain, no matter what comes, they're determined to protect their town. Elsewhere, Alicia and Nell search for a place to stay, but it's difficult with the city on high alert. Before entering the inn, Alicia asks Nell not to refer to her as a hero. She wants to keep her identity hidden for now. As soon as she opens the door, two large men block her path and accuse her of being one of the bandits. Alicia is unsure how to handle the situation, but luckily their mother arrives and tells them to stop bothering the guests. Phil tries to explain that Alicia looks suspicious, She has an eye patch and a sword, but considering recent events, walking around armed is pretty normal. What really catches attention, though, is the presence of a hedemic baby. Carrie, the innkeeper, asks for an explanation. Alicia responds that she and Nell are bodyguards assigned to protect a very important individual, the baby, at all costs. The explanation is convincing enough. Though Carrie suspects there's more to the story, she's not interested in prying into the affairs of paying customers. She asks what they need, and Alicia requests a room for two, preferably with a bed comfortable enough for a baby. Carrie quotes a price of 2 silver coins per night, so Alicia pays for a 2-night stay. Carrie directs them to the first room on the left and tells her sons to help carry the luggage. Pete offers to help Nell, though she insists she can manage. He persists, so she hands over the bags, and he instantly regrets it, realizing just how heavy they are. Eventually, Pete and Phil carry everything up to the room. Alicia seems satisfied, and Carrie says she can come downstairs if she needs anything. Once she leaves, Nell suggests they put Luna to bed so he can rest. However, neither of them realizes that one of Maynard's insects has spotted Luna. Now that Maynard knows exactly where the Hittite prince is, he is sending his entire insect army after him. A little while later, Alicia is gazing out the window, wondering whether Clem has reached the battlefield yet. But her thoughts are interrupted when Nell calls her over to take a look at something, Luna's very first baby tooth. A few minutes later, Carrie knocks on the door to let Alicia and Nell know that their food is ready. But when she sees Luna still asleep, she tells Alicia she can just come down and bring the food back to the room. Alicia follows Carrie downstairs, and Carrie points to the food waiting at the end of the table. On her way over, Alicia overhears some bar patrons grumbling about how everything going wrong is the hero's fault. According to them, if those so-called heroes hadn't gone out and challenged one of the Beast Lords, then Clevitus wouldn't have destroyed Haydn, and the Bolate army never would have started this war. Public opinion on heroes is absolutely tanked. People have every right to be mad. In their eyes, all the heroes have done is make life worse. Just as Alicia is about to head back upstairs, she suddenly senses the presence of a dark beast. In the next moment, something smashes through the downstairs window and lands right next to Pete. He thinks it's just a regular ball and casually reaches to pick it up until Alicia yells at him not to touch it. Unfortunately, she's too late. The ball suddenly expands and launches Pete into the ceiling. Surprise! It's actually a giant centipede. Maynard then enters the inn like it's just another Tuesday and announces that this isn't some ordinary bug. This centipede hails from the dark beast forest, meaning it's on the same level as some of the most powerful dark beasts out there. One guy in the bar doesn't even wait for the lecture to finish. He came here to drink, not fight an overgrown insect. So he dives out the window, a perfectly reasonable plan, if only Maynard hadn't already stationed hundreds of bug monsters outside. So yeah, the guy gets eaten. Bad luck. Maynard reveals that this whole creepy-crawly ambush was part of his plan to make sure no one leaves town until his mission is complete. Just to make it extra official, he introduces himself as the highest mage in Lord Drell's army. Everyone panics. No one expected Drell's forces to actually attack their village like this. But Maynard clarifies, he's not here to take over. His mission is simple, to confirm whether the Hedemic baby here is of royal blood. Alicia immediately realizes how serious this is. If Maynard already knows that Luna is here, she has to get him out, fast. Suddenly, a scream from upstairs breaks through her thoughts. Nell is in trouble. Turns out Maynard already sent his subordinate wizard, Nashifenite, up to their room. And she's currently pinning Nell against the wall, using the bed frame like she's auditioning for a villain role in a horror movie.